this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This video is about the setup of my plant room, sort of the gadgets I've got, and shelving and electrics and all that sort of thing. Morning Mr. Cat, has to get in on everything. Okay, it was a conservatory once. I suppose now it would be classed as a lean-to greenhouse. Anyway, it's attached to the house with a nice big sliding door on the inside. Basically, that's it from the outside. This is where my humidity trays live for the winter. I don't need them in the winter. It's more than enough humidity. And yes, that is a bonsai in the background. That's Acer palmatum de Shoujo. But that's another story. Possibly another video. Anyway, with the magic of the warp, let's go inside and start. Okay, to start with, the entrance to the plant room is effectively via the patio doors, so let's open those up. And we'll just have a quick scan round first before we start. The roof is currently bubble wrapped. It's the middle of January, which here in the UK means winter, although we haven't had much of one this year. Basically it's a glass-sided unit, apart from a few wooden panels. There is one layer of shade netting left on the outside during the winter because I still get quite strong sun during parts of the day. That goes to a double layer in the summer and includes a layer on the roof, and the bubble wrap comes off. Okay, multiple shelves all over the place, various plants, I'll go over those, and the really important item, my chair. Okay, this is a video about some of the gadgets in here, so I thought I'd start with most of them actually running. That's the actual large circulating fan there, and up above is another large circulating fan that's whizzing away merrily higher up, and that's actually linked to the oscillating fan heater down below. So when that comes on, the high up one comes on as well. The large circulating fan is actually on a timer that just comes on during daylight hours basically, and linked in with that one is my little air cleaner down here. And that basically has got a filter in it to get large particles out of the air. It's got a UV light in there, which if you own a pond you know that actually kills bacteria and various things like that. And in addition to that, it's got an ionizer. It produces negative ions which, without getting too technical, latch on to things like pathogens, nasty fungus spores and things like that, and make them heavy enough that they just sink down to the ground. And then we hoover them up later. Cheers. As far as electrics are concerned, here in the UK we run on 230 to 240 volts, which if you get your fingers on it gives you quite a nasty belt. So although I've got electricity in the plant room, I don't throw water around me. Electricity and water are not a good mix. Oh, that's the heater just kicked in, wonderful. Still, it's appropriate, it's winter time. Power comes in through there, it gets split off via a splitter. One cable comes down here and effectively runs just basically an extension lead there on the wall. There's very little plugged into that this time of year. That generally runs my foggers, mainly for the summer. The other cable then runs round the top here, basically comes round to the main unit over here, which basically is switchable sockets, and various things are connected up to those. I'll go over those in turn as we go along. This is my fogger. It's just a general household humidifier basically. The tape round the outside is to stop the light getting in, saves having to clean the algae off on a regular basis, which is a right faff. And that's connected up to a humidistat. Let's go and have a look at that. The fogger itself is controlled by this little unit, another one of our little Chinese friends. Dirt cheap. In this case, the reading on this is pretty inaccurate. It's not that good. It's currently saying that the humidity in here is higher than its maximum reading of 98%. If it was, the windows would be streaming. It's actually about 80, maybe 85 at the most at the moment. I've got a little gadget here which gives me a temperature readout and relative humidity reading and the time. It's got a memory function on it with a minimum and maximum, and the humidity level that this one actually reads out is pretty accurate. It's also very portable. I can pick it up and put it in various parts of the room, you know, just to give microclimate readings basically. It's very useful to decide, you know, where plants actually go within the plant room. But going back to the unit itself, it's relatively clever, I suppose. You can actually give it a setting, which is your actual control setting, and then a differential, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever you like. And when the humidity drops below your setting, minus that differential, it will kick the power in, which turns the fogger on. 2 in the summer, I run 2 of them. And then when the humidity actually reaches your set amount, it shuts everything down again. So it works very well, even though the readout is pretty grim at the moment. In the summertime, when the humidity does go up and down with the extractor fans, it actually gives quite a good reading, and it performs a really good function. It basically gets its data from that little unit there, which is the humidistat itself. That's the bit that's not very accurate. It also comes with a thermometer, which is very good because relative humidity is literally relative to the temperature in the place, and it's got a little algorithm built in. That's the bit that was probably designed for China and doesn't work so good in the UK. This is what the fogger looks like when it's in action. It chucks out nice cool mist, and the circulating fans, which are off at the moment, would normally be blowing that all round the plants. The plants that need the most humidity and the slightly cooler air are quite close to the fogger, so that the actual fans actually blow that mist straight onto the plants. Good when it's hot. That's a programmable timer, which basically at the moment is used to actually fire up the circulating fan and my air cleaner, but basically plugged into the timer is an extension lead there, so whatever I plug into there is actually controlled by the timer. At the moment that's got my air cleaner and my circulating fan. This little unit here comes from China. Wonderful little gadget. It's effectively a thermostat which you can connect things up to. Not currently in, because that basically drives that extension lead. Anything I plug into there is controlled by that thermostat. Currently the things plugged into there, not active at the moment because it's winter time, are the large extractor fan, nicely bubble wrapped to keep the bugs and the air out, cold air that is. And down the bottom here is the inlet fan, which the nice fresh cool air is sucked in from the shady side. They run together based on that little thermostat. I tend to set that at around 26-27 degrees. It still allows the temperature to go up a bit though. This little gadget here is yet another one of our Chinese thermostats, and that's actually connected up to the large circulating fan in the ceiling, which we saw working earlier, and it's also connected up to my oscillating fan heater. That's the thing that gobbles the electricity, but what can you do? These are my 2 little gadgets I use to check my water. One's a TDS meter, and that gets converted into microsiemens. Not a lot of information around as to what levels should be used for individual orchids, so it's just a generalisation. But that shows how strong my mix is with fertilisers and things. Gives me good control. Need to multiply the value that comes out from the TDS meter by what's scientifically shown as 1.56 to get microsiemens. And the other little gadget, the yellow one, is a pH meter. Doesn't get used very often, but it does get used to check that the water that I'm using is within a viable range for orchids, which is generally around 6. They like it slightly acidic. I've got a little RO unit, reverse osmosis unit, which gets connected up outside and fills my tank up. So I start with clean, pure water, so that whatever I add to it, I know exactly what I've got. I don't use tap water anymore. My tap water is very hard. It's just not good for orchids, especially the delicate types, things like Disas and stuff like that. As far as watering is concerned, I've got a tank of water. It's an old halogen oven tank, holds about 20 litres, and that gets filled up, and then I add my fertilisers and things as I need them. Sometimes it gets used as pure water and gives everything a flush, as we know we need to do now and again. So thanks for watching the gadgets and sort of setup video. That's how I run my plant room. Various manual overrides every now and again, but it's pretty well automated. And a quick look at berry odour before we go, because that's done particularly well this year. And at the moment I've just turned all the fans off, and the scent from this beauty is quite heavenly. See you again next time. Yes, that's my seat, isn't it? Not your seat.